Hi, I'm Dominic Patton. Thanks for joining us for another installment of Next Generation TV, where we talk to the up-and-comers and movers and shakers of tomorrow and today in our industry. And today I'm very, very happy to be joined by one of my favorite actors on one of the best shows ever to be on television, Ms. Holly Taylor from The Americans. Now, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Tomorrow is the finale. And it's not just like, oh, the show's over, the season's over. This is the series finale for The Americans.
Right.
What can you tell us?
Nothing. Seriously, nothing. I've been warned so many times that as much as you want to try and tease things and say things, it's just better for everybody, for the audience, to just keep your mouth shut.
But saying that, in the last episode of season 6, the penultimate episode, keeping your mouth shut was the last thing that your character, Paige Jennings, did with her mom. You really told her, I mean, basically, for a season that's seen you become a, let's call you a sub-spy, second generation illegal in the making, you just reamed her a new one.
I know. Well, I mean, it was a little harsh, and I would definitely, in real life, never talk to my mom like that.
I met your mom. You would definitely not talk to her mom like that.
My mom would be like, I don't think so. But at the same time, you kind of understand, like, there's so many things she doesn't know about her mom, and, like, to find out that your mom might have like slept with somebody to get information, especially someone like your own age, like that's really horrifying to find out, you know, like no one wants to know that about their parents. So it's like, that's really creepy and weird, but it is her job, and Paige, I guess, just doesn't understand that right now. But I mean, it would be difficult to understand. What
was that like? I mean, we've seen you virtually grow up on television. And look, I've said it in my review of this final season, I'll say it again, I so think the guys should create a Paige spinoff. It's just a natural, and you just make it happen now. I mean, come on, the real life events is The Americans, right?
I've said that to them as well, but I don't know if they're for it. But I still push, you know. Everyone says different things. Matthew says that I could be the Monica Lewinsky or something, which I think is a little far-fetched. People are like, she could end up being Hillary Clinton. Like, everyone has their own little theory. Yeah, exactly.
Chelsea Clinton, you must get that a lot.
Yeah, so
totally.
There's so many different theories out there, but also just like a plain old spin-off of like what she does after this and how she decides what to do with her life.
Because there's nothing, no matter what happens in the finale, there's nothing that can kind of unmake what Paige has learned over the past 2 seasons. That her parents are KGB plants, that they've been working actively for decades to basically advance the agenda of the USSR and undermine the agenda of the United States of America.
Right.
That there's a body count, as you talked, there's sex, and that they've basically, the parents, up until 2 seasons ago, the parents she thought she had are not the parents she has.
Yeah.
For you, though, with all that, what has it been like over these 6 seasons for you?
It's been kind of surreal when I look back on it. I mean, it went so fast, and when people say 6 years, or I think like how I was 14 the first season, that just sounds really bizarre to me because it feels like just yesterday was season 1. But I've just learned so much from being on the show, and I can't believe that like almost all of my teenage years were spent on that TV show, and I was lucky enough to have that opportunity. So I still haven't wrapped my head around it. I don't know if I ever will.
But going forward in your career, I mean, you know, you came and joined us from New Mexico, where you're making a movie. What's the movie is?
It's a like mini-series kind of thing called The Unsettling. So it's a spooky horror thing. I'm a foster kid, and some scary things start happening in the house that I go to.
So clearly, your career is moving forward. I have to ask this, and we all know the stories that happen, like, you know, teenagers or children who are on shows, and life happens to them.
Right.
Have you sort of got a plan of where you want to take things? I mean, because you're at such a high level, Holly. I'm not just talking about the show. I'm talking about you as a performer. Such a high level.
Thank you. It is intimidating coming off of a show like The Americans, where the writers, like the creator, everyone are just so talented and intelligent. Like, it's a really smart show, and it was never dictated by like ratings or audience reaction. It was always about, no, like, we want to tell this story. It doesn't matter what people think, you know? And I feel like that's something really rare in the entertainment business, where usually, you know, we're kind of swayed by like, what's going to get the most views, what's going to get the most people talking about us on Twitter or something, you know? So I've been really lucky to be on a show like that, and it's hard to think of like what to do after that would even be above it, you know? I'm so lucky to be on such an amazing show, and like, it's really scary when you think about what to do next. But I would like to do comedy. That's my
Really?
thing. Yeah.
Not a lot of funny in The Americans.
No,
or not intentionally,
there's
certainly.
not at all. That's why I really want to like switch it up. kind of done with the crying stuff and the scared faces and the eyebrows. So
You do those well.
yeah.
I guess, is that a kind of a natural transition to do a horror show then?
I guess so.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's just more horror than that.
Yeah, that's what I told the director. He was like, great job. And I was like, I just move my eyebrows. There's no emotion. You just have to squint them, and all of a sudden you're confused.
It's a lot of method there.
Yeah.
A lot of method. Have you been talking to people about comedy?
A little bit. I mean, I try and like put it out there, but it is hard for people to see because I have been playing such a serious, like somber character for so long, when usually kid actors and like teenagers are a little more like jovial. So it's kind of hard for people to like imagine that, but that's actually what I have more training in. So I never really trained in drama. I only ever took comedy classes.
Well, it looks like you excelled in drama. I wanted to ask you about that penultimate episode, that last episode before the finale, which is that scene, Paige/you, not in that episode a lot, and a lot goes down. It looks like they're outed by the FBI. Olav is picked up. I mean, everything's going. Claudia basically says that she's been betrayed by Elizabeth. Everything's falling apart on the brink of this Gorbachev-Reagan summit of 1987, which the whole season has been dedicated to.
Yeah.
And then Paige shows up at the end with this information involving around the guy who probably is her boyfriend, Brian, the congressional intern, and a friend of his. What was it like between you and Carrie? To play that after so many years, and especially this season and most of last season, so much of the relationship was between you guys.
Yeah, it was a difficult scene to do. It was really challenging, especially because it was really different for my character. And it was hard for me because during the scene, like, the more angry I was getting at her, the more I wanted to cry because she's such a good actress and she looked so sad and hurt. And I was like, oh my God, she's so sad, I'm being so mean to her. So I was like, I felt bad and I would start tearing up and they were like, don't cry. And I was like, I'm trying not to, I promise. So it's really hard to like get that emotional and like bring out that intensity of anger and not get like super worked up about it and some tears come. I wanted it to be more like strong for Paige and more like, I think this is wrong now. Like, you're my mom, but I'm older, and I can still call you out if I think something is wrong, and like, that's my opinion, rather than like scared little girl being like, Mom, like, what's this about, and getting upset by it. It was really different, and I think something that we haven't seen a lot from Paige.
How have you felt about the trajectory that your character's been on the past season and a bit? I mean, she's really come into her own.
Yeah, I've loved it. I mean, I never thought that the character would go this way, especially with like the self-defense training or even just kind of joining her mom in the little bit of spycraft that she's done. I never thought it would go that way.
Where did you think it would go? Or did you?
I mean, I always wanted it to go that way, and I think that's why I was like, no, it'd be too good to be true, because this was like exactly what I wanted to happen, and I was like, no, they'll never, like, Paige isn't going to be a spy, like, that's ridiculous. But once it happened, I was like, wait, this makes a lot of sense, like, it's actually really fun to play, and she is, like you said, coming into her own, and she's at school, so she's not living with her parents anymore, she has her own mind, but at the same time, I think that Claudia and Elizabeth have kind of planted the seed in her head of not falling into the trap of what they think is like the American culture, and Paige is very wary of that now, which might, after what she finds out about her mom in this last episode, might start to change her opinion of things.
Well, because you had, I always thought, there was that story arc with Pastor Tim and the church, which really brought up a lot of divisions between not just the family, but also communist USSR and secular but religious America in that time. But there was also one episode I always thought was particularly powerful, and you were very strong in, was the episode where Elizabeth's mother was dying. And you, Paige, went to meet her grandmother. You guys snuck through East Germany to do that.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be planting a lot of the seeds for the relationship we've seen in the past season and a half.
Right.
What was that like for you, and how did you get a sense of where this was going to go?
Yeah, I think even at that stage, I didn't think that it was going to go in this direction because it was such like a dangerous task for them to do, even just to see Elizabeth's grandmother. I figured they would think like, this is just too risky for our daughter. We can't get her involved.
You mean Paige's grandmother?
Yeah.
Elizabeth's mother.
Yeah. But then we see how passionate Elizabeth is about it, even though she can't see her own mother, Paige's grandmother. So it's like all those things like safety and danger don't mean anything to Elizabeth. It's like she wants her daughter to be a part of something amazing and fight for a cause. So I think it kind of predicted that in a way. But that was definitely an interesting scene because Elizabeth and Paige never really had that close of a bond. You know, they were always kind of fighting each other, I think because they were really similar. But now in this final season, we see that their relationship has gotten a lot closer, maybe even closer than she is with Philip.
Why do you think people love The Americans so much?
I think a lot of people love The Americans because of how nostalgic it is. So many people like will say things to me like, we had that exact wallpaper in our house, or like things like that, you know, that they just love seeing how accurate it is, or, you know, a specific television show that comes on at a specific time in an episode, and you're like, I used to watch that every day after school, just like Henry did, you know. They're so accurate with the show, and each historical part of it is really down to the T. I think that people appreciate that because it is rare.
You know, one of the things for me, as someone who grew up partially in that era, is it's the flip of it, right? Like, we see things through the American perspective, the American eye, or the Western eye, right? But like, I remember that episode about the day Reagan was shot, and it showed this whole other perspective on what was happening.
Right.
You know, I think sometimes for people that's an element about it, and your character has been a powerful through line for that because it's someone coming of age during that time. How did you, obviously, you were not born for a lot of that time.
Right.
I mean, you're 20 years old now. How did you kind of find that groove? I mean, there's some outfits you wore this season that honestly don't show up very often in 2018, unless you really throwback.
No, it was very interesting. I learned like a bit about the Cold War in like middle school, but it was like one chapter in history class, you know, out of a million other things you learn in a year. And like you said, it was the Western view of it. It was, they were the bad guy, we were the good guy, this is what happened. And that's what I've always loved about the show from the beginning, is you learn so much from it because it tells that other side of the story that no one wants to tell you over here, and that it makes the other side seem more human, because that's what we all literally are.
And now, you know, with events that have been happening since the 2016 election, it makes it feel so much more. It's like it prophesized what was happening.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes think, oh, well, that's what's going to happen with Paige. Like, Paige is going to be one of an early Trump campaign's volunteer and help that happen.
I know, everyone says that to me all the time. They're like, she's going to be in the office. They have to do a spinoff with her there. But it's weird. A lot of people are like, do you guys think about like the current political climate on set? Are you trying to make parallels to it? Like, do the writers bring that in? And all of us always say, like, not at all. We are never thinking about what's outside of the show because there's so much content just in that time period. It's like you can't think of anything else. You know, there's already so much going on. You don't need to pull from present day. So it makes it even more eerie that it does parallel so well with present day, and we're not even doing that intentionally.
Now, you know, the finale is going to air tomorrow. You guys obviously wrapped up filming a while ago. How does it feel now that this chapter of your life, you're no longer working with Matthew and Carrie, you know, that relationship that built over years and seasons, how does it feel now it's all done?
It's really sad. I mean, they were like the best cast ever. Carrie and Matthew are so nice and genuine and like really humble people who just care about every single person on set. And everyone would say to us all the time, like, you don't work on a show like this where everyone is nice and everyone gets along. Like, this doesn't happen. So I was always scared to go on to other projects because I was like, everyone's going to be mean. Like, what's going to happen? Because everyone, you know, set this huge expectation for the Americans, which is true. It was like a family. Everyone was so great. But it still hasn't hit me yet that I'm not going back, because we have been so fortunate all those years to usually know that we're going back. We didn't always have to wait for the pickup to the last minute. So I think my brain still thinks that I'm going back to shoot season 7 in the fall, and it's going to be very sad when I don't.
Well, there still could be that spinoff.
Yeah,
Fingers
there could.
Crossed.
I know.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Spinoff. Everyone tweet it. Tweet for Paige spinoff. Hashtag Paige spinoff.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Next Generation TV. You can find out many, many more episodes, or watch many more episodes that we've done with other people. You can also go into deadline.com for all the latest news on the Emmys, because let's be honest, we're talking to Holly and we're talking to other people. We have to think about the Emmys. Either way, hope to see you soon.